నమస్తే సార్.
నమస్తే అమ్మా, హౌ ఆర్ యూ? ఎలా ఉన్నావు? నమస్తే అండి. నమస్తే నమస్తే. బాగున్నానమ్మా. మీరు
చాలా రోజులు అయిపోయింది చూసి.
అవునమ్మా.
సర్ప్రైజ్ విజిట్ సార్ దగ్గరికి, ఫ్రెండ్స్ వేరే వాళ్ళు కూడా వస్తున్నాము.
ఓ వండర్ఫుల్ వండర్ఫుల్.
అందుకోసం సర్ప్రైజ్ ప్లాన్, అందుకని
ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఆర్
మీటింగ్ కి ఇంటరప్ట్ చేశాను, ఏమనుకోవద్దు.
అయ్యో, వెల్కమ్ 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 అమ్మా, వెల్కమ్ వెల్కమ్ వెల్కమ్.
సార్ అందరు బాగున్నారు కదా సార్?
అందరు బాగున్నారు.
వాళ్ళు అందరు బాగున్నారు కదా?
అందరు బాగున్నారమ్మా, మీరు బాగున్నారా?
బాగున్నాం సార్, బాగున్నాం.
వెరీ గుడ్ అమ్మా.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ. రండి ఈసారి తప్పకుండా. నేను
రావాలి సార్, నేను మననే చెప్పాలనుకున్నాను. తప్పకుండా రావాలి సార్.
తప్పనిసరిగా వస్తారమ్మా. నమస్తే సార్, టిఎస్ఎన్ మూర్తి గారు. నమస్కారం. నమస్తే నమస్తే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ థ్యాంక్ యూ అమ్మా. థ్యాంక్ యూ థ్యాంక్ యూ. So Nehru, in the ideas of Sunil Kilnani, is the maker of the modern India. During his entire time, both as a Congress leader and Prime Minister, he was put a constant challenge. Both his friends and his enemies challenged him, within the Congress and outside the Congress. Within the Congress, he was subjected to challenge from Patel, Rajaji, Rajendra Prasad, and Maulana Azad also to some extent. And he was constantly challenged by the Indian socialists who were part of Congress for a long time, up to 48, and then who deviated from Congress. Nehru was subjected to challenge by communists. Nehru was subjected to challenge by capitalists. And Nehru was always subjected to, Nehru had a tense relationship with his own mentor Gandhi also, because there was a constant dialogue between Gandhi and Nehru, especially after 1944, from 1944 to 1947-48, on the future economic organization of free India. There were a lot of correspondence between Nehru and Gandhi. Both sides have an accusation that the others were trying to unduly influence the other. So these are all the areas where before understanding Nehru, we need to, it's not that Nehru was free to take decisions, his own decisions at any time. But whatever it might be, today, on the occasion of the 59th year of his death anniversary, Nehru remains to be a constant subject matter of discussion. For the last 2 decades, many of us who are well aware of the political developments, we know pretty well that Nehru is being criticized for everything that has been done wrongly or rightly. That is the issue of Kashmir, the issue of handling the princely states, the issue of international relations, especially his favorable inclination towards the Soviet Russia, though Nehru was talking about non-aligned movement. Then there is a constant criticism of Nehru even on his policy of linguistic states and languages, because one of the greatest challenge Nehru faced in free India has been his policy about the reorganization of the states on the linguistic basis. The second challenge he has faced constantly was his idea of foreign relations, both with England and also with the other nations, with UNO, with China. So these are all some of the areas which we need to recapitulate when we talk about Nehru. So this is the background on which I am now going to talk about Nehru. So born on 14/11/1889 and who died on 27/5/1964. Nehru occupies an important stage in understanding India, especially in understanding the modern India. The first question any politically aware person raises, even before when I was saying that I was about to talk about Nehru today, the few questions which have been raised by some of my friends is, was Nehru the real choice of the prime minister post? Because the literature that is coming out for more than 3 decades has been that it was Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel who could have been preferred as the Prime Minister of India, first Prime Minister of India, instead of Nehru. This is one constant idea that comes. Then many people make out another idea that it was in fact Rajgopalachari who was in the mind of Gandhi as his first choice of the Prime Minister. This is one area which occupies a center stage discussion in the political circles even now. I have tried to verify the best possible literature on the subject matter, because I was also interested to know this area. Few months back, actually on 14th November of last year, I thought of initiating a dialogue on Nehru. But at that time, I was completing my work on Dr. Rammanohar Lohia. So I thought of postponing this, but I gave a small lecture in some Gandhi Darshan about Nehru's role in Indian society. During that verification, and after completing my Lohia work, I was switching over to write on Karl Marx, because Karl Marx is one philosopher which I came into contact when I was as young as 17, 18 years. So since then, I have been reading, reflecting, discussing and debating among my friends about Karl Marx. So the next target, subject matter of my work was Marxism and a critic. But immediately after completing my Lohian project, my friends, one friend is available here, Prakash, he suggested me to write about Nehru before writing about Marx, because why Nehru is subjected to such a kind of criticism. Then in that process, for the past 6 to 7 months, I have been reading about Nehru, about Patel, about Rajaji, and about the very Congress, history of Congress, and the certain of the developments in Indian society. Naturally, I am more interested in reading about the Indian history from 1800 onwards, instead of going back to the ancient or medieval history, which we normally call. I am more interested in reading about Indian history from 1800 to till date. So in that process, when I verified, there was, in fact, there is a truth in the claim that Patel wanted to be the Prime Minister. And he made such a kind of claim also. But Gandhi intervened and convinced. But before that, Rajaji was also aspiring for the idea of being the Prime Minister of India. Then Gandhi and Rajaji came much earlier to a conclusion that we are almost nearing 80s, so we don't want to make any claim. But Patel was a bit interested, because the most crucial moment has come for this particular area in 1946, when the Congress president was to be elected. Because during 1946, another thing that took place is elections to the Central Legislative Assembly, who are also going to be the members of the Constituent Assembly also, because by that time Cabinet Mission Plan has come and the elections were held in the according to 1935 India Act. So this during that time, who becomes the president of the Congress was naturally also was thought of for becoming the Prime Minister of India also, to lead the country. So at that time, it appears Patel came forward, and there was a well-known fact that about out of some 22 or 23 provincial Congress bodies. Almost 18 bodies have proposed the name of Patel. And this is one of the constant criticism made against Nehru, that Patel was a better choice, was a choice of the Congress than Nehru. But a thorough inquiry, I made further inquiries into this area when I came to know that it's not such a kind of an absolute truth, because it is true that the province, more provincial state bodies have preferred Patel to Nehru, but Congress president elections were never based on the proposals or recommendations of the provincial state heads, because it was always the general body which elects. And moreover, during that time, it appears Gandhi also prevailed over Patel, that it is the time for us to leave the country for the younger generation. And Nehru appears to be at least a decade younger to, not more than a decade younger to Patel, Gandhi, Rajaji. So it appears subsequently there was a kind of consensus even from Patel that yes, this has to be like this one. So the area where we always regularly talk about the inevitability or something like, imposition of Nehru is may not be 100% true, but there are contentious issues on that area, that Patel wanted to be the prime minister. He made his claim. This is a fact, but Gandhi appears to have prevailed over both Rajaji and Patel. And ultimately, after the death of Gandhi on in January 1948, Patel has accepted the Nehru's leadership, and he has also promised that he will be absolutely committed to Nehru's leadership in the remaining part of his life. This is something which we need to examine. Today, whatever I am going to say is only something like a hypothesis. It's not because I am going to work on Nehru for the next 6 months or 1 year. So I take your inputs also. So this is one area which I would like to say. Then Nehru's either greatest difficulty or challenge or other areas is his relationship with Kashmir. You know pretty well that originally the king of the Kashmir has given away Kashmir to the British government. And the British government has sold it to Dogra dynasty, Gulab Singh, who is called as the Maharaja of Kashmir later on. The British has sold the Kashmir region to Gulab Singh for rupees 7.5 millions. This is a commercial treaty under which the Kashmir region was handed over to Gulab Singh Maharaja. Since then, Kashmir was under a constant turmoil, whether a region can be sold away along with the people, and do the people have any say in that or not? Because this happened somewhere in 1846. So since then, the Kashmiri people were agitating over the status as to decide their own future. And this struggle has almost continued for about 100 years, till 1946, 47, and 48. And the then Kashmir Maharaja, who was the Hindu king, was also interested to declare independence and stay as an independent country without joining either Pakistan or India at that particular point of time. And then Nehru was terribly wavering about what to take, because Nehru belongs to Kashmir. He has roots in Kashmir, and he has some kind of an ideological and idealistic attachment towards Kashmir, both because of his what's called his roots with the Kashmir, and also he has his own idea about how the things have to be decided. As a Democrat, he wanted that the people of Kashmir has the higher role than the kings who decide the future. So when the Kashmir issue has arrived up to 1947 and above, Nehru was, due to the movement, people's movement at that time through Sheikh Abdullah, who also happens to be a good friend of Nehru, and because of the people's movement, he thought that I can even get Kashmir into the Indian fold even by accepting something called as a plebiscite. So this is one irking area always troubling us as to how a national leader accepted plebiscite that could be conducted by UNO. This is one fact which always pricks the minds of the Indian people, especially the people who wanted, who think in terms of sovereignty in the most modern terms. So this is another issue. Then the total integration of the princely states within India immediately after the independence was also a matter of serious concern. And as I have already told you, Nehru was always talking about the choice of the people to decide the future, which many of the conservative politicians within the Congress were absolutely astonished, because idealism in theory, idealism in practice always will come into conflict. So by the time the decisions were taking place between from 1946 onwards about the independence of India, the equations also have undergone a change. If you remember the cabinet plan of 1946, they have proposed a constituent assembly to India with 3 layers. One is, the first layer is for the united the provinces which are directly under the British government. That is the 4 provincial governments, state areas. Then the second area was the other areas which are relatively governed by government, and then state governments, how the state governments have to be diverged with the powers. The third is the princely states. So princely states were given in the third list. That is, they were given a choice of joining the Constitutional Assembly or not to join, and to have their own independent constitutions. So these developments between 1946 to 1952 has a lot of impact on the thinking of the Indians. Nehru, through his idealistic thinking, was saying that the people have the right to decide the things. But Patel, as a man with a clear vision, could think that no country can survive having another enemy country or oppositional country within its territory. So you cannot have an independent country surrounded by another sovereign state. So Patel was insisting upon the absorption of annexation, absorption, or convincing the states to join within India. So this constant affair, which has undergone radical thinking changes and other things between 1946 to 1952, are also one of the areas where Nehru has to be subjected to criticize, but he was always clinging to his own idea of the people's choice to decide their future. These are all the 2 areas, which is one is I told about Nehru's prime ministership choice, and then integrating the Indian states and the Kashmir issue. These are the 3 areas which are of importance. And then one more area is there in Nehru's life is, he has 2 different ideas in his philosophy. One is, he was highly anti-communal. He was not accepting any kind of communal thinking, and his secularism was highly rigid also. So when compared with all his companions, friends, including some of the communists, strong communists, and including socialists, Nehru's stand on communalism, Nehru's stand on secularism was highly rigid, highly serious, and highly uncompromising. And probably this is the basic reason, other than all other things, this is the basic reason for Nehru to be subjected for severe criticism today. Because all other political outfits, including the Indian communists, have at one point of time either preferred or did not object to. This is preferring is one thing, not objecting to one thing is something else. To form governments or to be associated with the governments which are having the communal elements. But all through his life, Nehru has maintained an absolutely unadulterated idea about what is called as communalism. He was highly critical of any kind of communalism, and his idea of secularism also was a very tight, what's called as tightly built idea. But there is one element which needs to be explained in this area. That is, within this idea of secularism, he has developed a new area that is called as even accepting the secularism as the sole way of conducting the society, especially if the majoritarianist religions are not controlled. Even the secularism fails if it is allowed to play a free play. That is, you cannot, until unless you specify that this majoritarianism or majoritarian religious approach has to be controlled, and the minorities are to be safeguarded against the majoritarianism, the secularism does not work, is one of the ideas which has been highly prevalent in the idea of Nehru. So even as early as on 12/11/1933, he made a scathing attack on Hindu Mahasabha at Banaras Hindu University, where it was the foundation of the Hindu Mahasabha, the very citadel of the communal thought, and denounced communalism as a reactionary movement threatening the unity of India. He said there is no basic difference between Hindu and Muslim forms of communal mentality, but a special responsibility for concessions rests with the Hindus because they are more numerous. This is where he has developed the idea of called as majoritarian communalism. Then this is one area where Nehru is contested, and more contested nowadays, especially in the recent past. The Nehru's idea of secularism is more in attack than Nehru's ideas of socialism or international relations. So this one particular problematic area of Nehru, of his understanding of communalism as a very, very, very constricted form of things, is both problematic and a challenge. Then the other area of Nehru's philosophy is his understanding of capitalism and communism. This understanding of Nehru, because Nehru spent most of his life in the struggle against Britain. Britain represents a kind of imperialism, not a kind of imperialism. In fact, in the Lohian terms, there is no difference between imperialism and colonialism and capitalism. All are the children of the same mother. So the Lohians don't distinguish between imperialism and capitalism as two separate things, and that is where Lohia has challenged the very thesis of Lenin, who said that imperialism is the highest form of capitalism. Lohia challenged that area, saying that it's all obfuscation of some serious realities. The imperialism and capitalism are the children of are the twins. So that is how the things have gone. But Nehru has understood in a different way. He was against capitalism because he thought that capitalism is born out of colonialism and India is the victim of colonialism. So we have to oppose capitalism. But at the same time, his reading of communism is also something different. Though he was attracted by the revolutionary change of communism, he was always apprehensive that communism in the form of especially what was experimented by his time in Russia was a totalitarian rule. So at any cost, this totalitarian communism and socialism also has to be opposed. So Nehru was taking a middle path in between these two things, and he was simultaneously opposing the US bloc and the Russian bloc. So this understanding of colonialism, imperialism, and capitalism, and also communism, has given two streams of thought in him. That is, he tried to develop his own idea of socialism, and then his own idea of organizing the state in terms of mixed economy. Probably one day I was reading about 2 decades earlier, I was reading a textbook on political economy. In that, I heard a word called as Peronism. I was so surprised to know this word Peronism because I never heard about it. So I referred to dictionaries. Unfortunately, no dictionary mentioned about the word Peronism. Then immediately I contacted one of my friends in Central University, Dr. Janardhan, who also struggled a lot to immediately recapitulate this idea of what is called as Peronism. And then in the context of the text, he said that Peronism means Ivan Peron's experiments in Argentina about the political economy. Because Ivan Peron also implemented something called as welfare economics within Argentina. That was one experiment which led to Peronism. I was so shocked. In a small country, when an experiment for a short period of a few years has undergone, and it was called as Peronism, why our Indian political scientists hesitate to name the politico-economic or political economy experiments of Nehru as Nehruism? So I thought there is something deficiency in our political thought itself. Now, leaving it, that Nehru has formulated his socialism constantly opposing capitalism and at the same time opposing the totalitarian trends in the communist societies and especially the centralized economies. So this is the area which has shaped Nehru's economic philosophy. So that is what we called as the middle path. And even there was a dialogue between Gandhi, Nehru, Gandhi, Rajaji, Gandhi, Patel on the subject of economics, and all differed with the other person. And everybody had his own idea of running the economy for the future of India. So ultimately what Nehru has taken is a middle path, the centralist path for all between among all the extremes. And then his socialism also has come out of this particular idea, and which has we find the highest expression for his socialism is the Lok Sabha debates in 1954 and his what is called as the policy decision taken by Lok Sabha in 1954 about saying that socialism will be the mode of economy for the future of India. And this particular socialism and secularism have reached their highest point in the 42nd Amendment of the Indian Constitution, by which both secularism and socialism were incorporated into the preamble. So this is one story of the secularism and the socialism. So far, so good, because almost from 1947 to 1957, things were mostly easily available to Nehru, even with all the opposition. Even with all the opposition from the strongest of his friends, somehow Nehru could accommodate and win over sometimes the minds of the people through his what's called as immediate responses or his high level of intellectual interventions. But actual problems for Nehru started coming somewhere around 1954, 55, 56, 57. That is why most of the writers who wrote about Nehru, they say that Nehru's peak golden age of Nehru is from 1947 to 1957, and 57 also onwards, his declination has started. Because for the first time, though there was a demand for the linguistic states, and Congress has long back accepted the formation of the linguistic states, the demands of linguistic states which have taken shape somewhere between 1953 to 56 is something which has highly worried Nehru. Because especially in the linguistic policy, the issue relating to what is called as Punjab, Calcutta, and Maharashtra worried him very much. The issue relating to Andhra was not a big problematic area for him, because he could understand that the Andhra issue is purely a linguistic issue. There is no other cultural or religious denomination in that particular movement. But when the Punjab Haryana separation movement has come, when in Calcutta the issue relating to formation of different states for Bengal and other Bihar has come, then the issue of Maharashtra has come. What Nehru found is they are apparently linguistic movements, but internally they are religious movements. He has he seriously opposed those areas, and this is also one area where Nehru continues to be the villain for many people, because in the initial stages of the linguistic demands like Andhra Pradesh, Karnataka, though he was opposing that, because he was saying that this kind of linguistic states will not help the people in getting a better political environment. Instead of that, they should have formed multi-linguistic areas where there can be more integration, was the idea of Nehru. However, in the southern areas, the demand for linguistic states was not so problematic as it was in the northern India, especially Maharashtra, Punjab, and then Bengal region. So here, most of the challenges have come for Nehru from somewhere around 1956 onwards on the subject matter of his linguistic areas. Then I come to another area of Nehru's problematic area is his foreign relations. So as I told you already, Nehru's foreign relations were actually the idea of having an independent, what is called as a study of industrial relations, the foreign relations, have come to the mind of Nehru somewhere as early as in 1934, much earlier than the very Indian freedom. So in 1933-34 onwards, he was contemplating to have a separate wing within the Congress party to talk about the foreign relations. And during that time only, Rammanohar Lohia, after completing his PhD in economics in Germany, he has come back to India. So Nehru requested Lohia to be the in charge of the foreign relations for the Congress party. The Indian National Congress Party has established a separate foreign department in 1934 with Lohia as its head. But after some time, I think there were some disappointments or some contentious arguments even between Lohia and Nehru, which ultimately even Lohia also wanted to join the active politics instead of sitting in the foreign department of the INC and making out policy decisions. In fact, on one occasion, I think Kamala Devi Chatterjee interferes with Lohia and says, why you are working here in the foreign department when you are an active politician? So these are all some things. But however, subsequently, the foreign relations were viewed and developed by Nehru as his own subject matter. So for this, when his own socialist friends have deviated from him, he was slowly started relying upon Krishna Menon for shaping the Indian foreign relations. And in the foreign relations also, From almost 1946-47 onwards, 1956 up to 1956, Nehru was really an influential personality in the whole world. This was accepted when Nehru has interfered in the dispute of Tibet, and with respect to China. And Nehru's interventions were highly appreciated by the world leaders in the way he has dealt with all these areas. His second greater intervention in the foreign relations was the issue relating to Suez, Turkey, and Nazar. Even this intervention also, with all the difficulties posed by America and England, Nehru was more successful in convincing the world order that he has a better understanding of the foreign relations. But his first major challenge has come when the Hungary issue has come, when USSR was, Hungary was trying to separate itself from the Soviet bloc, and USSR wanted to use military option. This was the first challenge for Nehru in terms of foreign relations. And subsequently, what Nehru's experience is from 1946-47 onwards up to 1956, that UNO was not a reliable body for what's called a healthy foreign international relations. So he was viewing very suspiciously both USA and UK, and both USA and UK were also always constantly were troubling Indian requirements. This is quite visible when the issue of Pakistan has come, when the issue of plebiscite in Kashmir has come, and when the issues Korea, Tibet, China, and even Hungary issues were discussed, USA and UK were appearing to be what's called as major problematic areas for Indian foreign relations. So this onwards, Nehru started slowly deviating from both USA and UK. Though initially he was more interested in Commonwealth, subsequently his experience for the first 10 years has made him to rethink about the USA and UK. And with this disappointment only, he was also not happily involving in the UNO affairs. He stopped his interventions in the internet, and even in fact his influence in the foreign relations also has come down drastically from 1956-57 onwards. And ultimately, the entire foreign relationships built by Nehru almost for more than a decade, 2 decades, has come to a what's called as a dead end with the China's invasion of India in 1962, China War. So this is the peak of Nehru's foreign relations was from 1946 to 1956, and 56-57 onwards his influence started dwindling down, and which ultimately saw its own what's called as downfall with the China intervention. Now, I just to go to some of the areas. Now it is 12:02. I will be finishing my presentation within 10 minutes. So the other areas of Nehru's is Nehru and creating a modern state. So this creating a modern state in terms of the modernity was Nehru's greatest what's called as strength, matter of interesting subject matter, and his ambition. So Nehru wanted to remove all the archaic what's called as elements of the Indian society. He wanted to create a modern parliament. One of the greatest examples of his parliamentary what's called a modern democratic thinking is reflected in the discussion somewhere in 1956, if I remember well, when he was absent from parliament. He was away from somewhere. Annadurai has made a hectic speech on in parliament saying that we South Indians are a separate nation, our culture is separate, our way of thinking is separate, our living is separate. We have unnecessarily been incorporated into this India. This North India is not is a big enemy for us. So when this speech was made, the entire parliamentary members in the parliament were highly agitated. And Nehru came in the end of the session somewhere in the evening, and all the Congress ministers, many of the Congress MPs were rushed to him and complained about this issue. And they wanted Nehru to give a fitting reply to Annadurai, or take action against him under the criminal law. But the typical response of Nehru at that time was, it is parliament, it is the people's, it is the representative place for the people. If at all any grievance has to be discussed, it is here it has to be discussed. And we have to allow every kind of discussion. And by allowing the discussion in what is called as parliament, we will be avoiding so many other areas of conflict. This was the response of Nehru, which when I read this, I was so impressed about his ideas of democracy. Now, the second thing is the executive. Actually, at the time of independence, many people thought that because of the colonial experience for about 100, 150 years, the Indian Congress will be attempting to entirely reconstitute the Indian civil services. And probably it would be introducing a new kind of services which will fit into the environment of India. Fortunately or unfortunately, Nehru did not attempt serious changes in the civil services. And it was both a subject matter of what is called as praise as well as criticism. Because of the non-reforming the Indian civil services, one fact happened is there was a strong executive for a long time. But at the same time, because of the nature of the executive, which has been nurtured, disciplined, trained by the Britishers, we have an executive which is absolutely disconnected with the people. As Dharmapal in one of his books has raised the question, when the word collector has come, Dharmapal raises a question, who is this collector? What is that he is doing? Even after 30 years of independence, we are talking about a collector. The word which has been introduced by the East India Company to establish a service for collecting its revenues. The collector, the word collector has come from the East India Company, its establishment, only to see that there are some officers who collect revenue for them. And this is the word of collector. And Dharmapal questioned Nehru and Nehru's administration all through his life, saying that what is this kind of civil services which are having. Suppose many people have subjected Nehru's executive or the continuation of the British legacy in executives. Then the third aspect is judiciary. Judiciary, actually, we for the past 30 years who are trained in the modern Indian, the latest Indian state of affairs, especially from 90s onwards, we are saying that there must be an absolute independent judiciary. In fact, when you observe the Constitutional Assembly debates, there was no such idea. And the independence of the judiciary was not even a subject matter for the Constitutional Assembly. They were saying that there must be an independent judiciary, but it is not so absolutely independent. It has its own this thing. But even with all these things, during the whole period of Nehru, he never interfered with the issues of the judiciary. He did not even what's called as try to influence because of his stature or anything on the Indian judiciary. He has nurtured or allowed a kind of institution to grow independent. It's only after the Indira Gandhi's emergence, there was something called as a committed judiciary and her own intervention in the judiciary, otherwise during the period of Nehru. So Nehru has nurtured three institutions very importantly, that is parliament, executive, and the judiciary in a different way, in the most modern way. And apart from that, we everybody know that his role in the creation of the IITs, IIMs, Indian Institute of Sciences, and then industries, public sector industries, and multi-purpose huge projects. These are all which he called as modern temples. So this is Nehru. I'm just trying to be as brief as possible on Nehru, because this is a subject matter which is going to be my book in the coming 1 year. So this is my presentation, and then I would like to talk about some of the few issues about Nehru's personality. That is, Nehru was observed to be a highly individualistic by many people, a man who feels compelled to do things himself. His attention to trivia is startling for a man of his position. This is one of the observations made by many foreign diplomats, many foreign scholars who have observed Nehru closely. Such a kind of individualist. He wanted to do everything on his own. Every detail he wanted to check on his own. Is it necessary for the Prime Minister of India even to check the draft that is going to be submitted in the Congress party meetings, or the drafts and letters which he is going to release to formal letters which he is going to release to foreign diplomats? Sometimes he met with the highly insignificant people also, insignificant foreign delegates. He spent hours to time together with them. There is one famous cartoon made by R.K. Lakshman in 1956. That is where the cartoon says that Nehru was conducting what's called as a Sangeeta Sabha, in which he was the musician, he was the tabla man, he was the vocal singer, he was the person who is using flute, mridangam, and everything. That means he was doing everything. That was the one of the best cartoons made by our cartoonist on Nehru. Then his Western education and his what's called as his understanding of the Indian society is also a problematic area. Then he was a healthy man all through, excepting for a short briefs of ill health for a very short period. Then he was highly self-centric. That was one of the comment made by some persons on Nehru. One comment is very important. I just read out and then tell you who made this comment also. It is about Nehru. Men like Jawaharlal are unsafe for democracy. A little twist and he might turn into a dictator. Vast popularity, a strong will, energy, pride, and with all his love of the crowd, an intolerance of others, and a certain contempt for the weak and inefficient, his conceit is already formidable. It must be checked. We want no Caesars. You know who made this comment on Nehru? It is Nehru himself. Nehru wrote his own critic in the pen name of Chanakya in a magazine called as Modern Times, coming from Calcutta. So with these few words, I leave the session now, and I thank all of you for giving me the patient hearing. I want now Krishna Mohan to conduct the remaining part of the session.
Yeah. Thank you, one and all, particularly Raghu Garu for having introduced a new topic on Nehru, on which he is going to write the book shortly. And after that, he is also going to release a book on Karl Marx, who he liked most. And it's a well thought of and well presented topic today. And we are all thankful to him. And now I request all the participants, maybe if you want to take 5 more minutes, you can also take with the permission of all the participants, anything left over like that.
Thank you. After the question session, if there is possibility, I'll just.
Yeah. Thank you, Raghu Garu.
Professor,
thank you very much again. It's all done in English. Other participants also have requested to be in the English because some northern participants are also there.
Yes.
Thank you for all this. And I request all the participants to maybe to give us any feedback or any questions they have. But I consider Nehru the next to Gandhi. There's no doubt in that. His sophistication, his modernity about the country, and his philosophy, the way he was jailed and written many letters, which has come into the in the form of a book, Glimpses of World History. He's not a simple person, and he deserves to be the Prime Minister at that time. Maybe there are other stalwarts are also there. I don't mind in that, but one has to take the choice. So that was Jawaharlal Nehru who was given the choice. Thank you, one and all, and let us have some discussion or some feedback or question hour on this Nehru's topic, today's topic of Raghu Kumar Garu, Dr. Raghu Kumar Garu. Thank you, one and all. Let's have that discussion now. Yeah, thank you.
Anyone can continue, sir. Krishnamohan has opened up the discussion.
Yeah. Please. Maybe I need not name the persons. Please go ahead with there will be many issues that can come up, and it's on Nehru and today's some on Gandhi and Nehru. Some negative things are also happening by this BJP government that also we should consider, and let us have chat on that. There are, all people have known Gandhi and Nehru and other people very well. Let's have some discussion on that. Then that also will come into his book tomorrow. That way we can help Dr. Raghu Kumar Garu. So it's just a prelude for his new book coming up shortly, maybe in a year's time. It's all his research he has done and he has put before us. Yeah. I need not name, I think. I cannot name the persons. Please.
Okay, I will take it. If no A is not there, I am B starting with B, Balmohan Das. I will be the first then.
Yes. You're like Gandhi. For all of
Thank you, Raghu Kumar Garu. I think first time, I think ahead of writing a book, introducing the subject and asking for suggestions is a novel idea. We are very happy. And I am sure that your book would come in such a way that it would get its appreciation all over the globe, not in India, all over the globe. Wish you all the best. The day on which Nehru died, 27th May 1964, I was doing my first year BCom course. I was coming from my college library to my home. In between, I was told that Nehru is no more. I could not stop weeping. I wept for half an hour, reached home, and my father consoled me. These things do happen. Nehru is such a great person. He died with making a lot of contribution to this country. We should pray for his soul. That is how my first reaction to Nehru's death in 1964. I feel sorry when people who now oppose Nehru's policies and all that criticize him. The way that they criticize is unfair to the personality of Nehru. Even today, what is going to happen about whether Nehru is a Muslim or a Hindu, whether Nehru is a Kashmiri one or a UP one, whether Nehru had illicit relationships with so many people. I'm not naming the people as such. Whether he's a modern person or a traditional person, these are the issues that do come up. And I happened to read recently a beautiful article in Hindu wherein he said Nehru wrote 196 letters to his own child, single child daughter, I think Indira Gandhi. And the first letter was on 26th October 1930. He says there, my dear Indira, this is on your 13th birthday. 26th October is not her birthday as we know. But he was I said traditional and modern. The traditional, I am telling you, 13th birthday happens to be according to Samvat Alam calendar, not the modern calendar, Indira Gandhi's 13th birthday. So Nehru writing a letter from jail in 1930 to his daughter at the 13th, is he modern or traditional? He is both modern and traditional. As rightly said, he comes in a middle path of communism and capitalism, introducing us the beautiful concept of mixed economy into this country. And temples, I think Raghu Kumar Garu has already mentioned temples, industries, science labs, universities. He described them as temples. And Mahatma Gandhi said once, describing Sardar Patel, Rajaji, and Nehru, he said, Sardar Patel is my brain. Sardar Vallabhbhai Patel is my two hands. And Nehru is my heart. That is how he described Nehru as such. I think I should not take more time because I wanted to be the initial discussant. I just wanted to be a model for others. Thank you, Raghu Kumar. Thank you, Krishna Mohan.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
So I thank very much Balamohan Das Garu, and also I request others to suggest or any.
మాట్లాడండి.
Yes, sir.
రెండు విషయాలు ఉంటాయి సార్.
అక్కడ సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు, రంగారావు గారు అక్కడ మన సుదర్శన్ రావు గారు ఆల్రెడీ ఎంటర్ అయ్యారు. 2 minutes. Sir.
I just make a very brief input because everybody is speaking in English, so it is advantageous to make a few comments. Sir, first of all, I really congratulate your analytical and insightful presentation and the high degree of scholarship you have exhibited in this presentation. Now, I just want to make 2 statements and I want your comments on that. Number 1, Nehru always wanted to build a modern capitalist welfare state. Number 1. I don't go into the debate whether he's a socialist, Fabian socialist, what kind of a socialist, etc. But this is my understanding. He wanted to build a modern capitalist welfare state. Number 1. Number 2, his idea of secularism is not secularism per se, because the word secularism, the term secularism conveys that we have to have a state which is a religious state. There is no role of a religion at all in the governance of a state or in the character of the state. To me, Nehru's brand of secularism is, it's a multi-religious state. He wanted to respect all the religions. He did not wanted any particular religion to have an overriding effect on the other religions. Means he believed in a kind of a tolerance, and in the name of secularism, his understanding or his practice was, it's a multi-religious state. Thank you very much.
సార్ నేను మాట్లాడొచ్చా?
Yes, sir. Please.
ఇక్కడ కాంట్రవర్సీ 2 ఇష్యూస్కి వస్తుంది సార్. ఒకటి ఏంటంటే పార్టీషన్కు ఎవరిని బ్లేమ్ చేయాలి, ఎందుకంటే మనం బానిసలుగా పోయిందే ఐక్యత లేకపోవడం వల్ల పోయినాం. కాబట్టి మనం ఒక పెద్ద దేశంగా భారతదేశంగా ఇంకా నిలబడితే, ఇప్పుడు పార్టీషన్ కాకుండా ఉంటే ఏ దేశం మన ముందు నిలబడకపోవు అనేది ఒకటి. ఇంకొకటి ఏంటంటే, ఈ బాంబే ప్లాన్ ద్వారా టాటా బిర్లాలు లయన్ షేర్ తీసుకున్నారు. ఆ తర్వాత వచ్చిన వర్గాలు కూడా చాలా చాలా లాభాలు ఆర్జించినాయి. ఈ లాభాలన్నీ ప్రజలకు వంచితే బాగుండేది అనేది ఒక కాన్సెప్ట్. ఇంకో విషయం ఏంటంటే, మనం 40-50 సంవత్సరాల లోపల జరిగిన సోషలిస్టిక్ ప్యాటర్న్ ఆఫ్ సొసైటీ వల్ల చాలా సోమరిపోతులను, చాలా లంచగొడ్లను తయారు చేసినాం. ఇది కాకుండా ఉంటే ఇంకా బాగుండేది. ఇవన్నీ కూడా కంటెన్షన్స్. కానీ మనం చూడాల్సింది ఏంటంటే, ఆ కాలంలో, ఆ టైం స్పేస్లో ఆ వ్యక్తులు చేసిన కంట్రిబ్యూషన్ వల్ల మన దేశానికి, మన జాతికి ఏం జరిగిందనేది. ఎస్పెషల్లీ మనం ఆ భావనతో చూస్తే 1947 to 1948 వరకు ఆ మధ్యలో జరిగిన కమ్యూనిస్టు నాయకుల మీద జరిగిన ఉరిశిక్షలను కూడా నెహ్రూ ఆపించగలిగాడు. ఆ ఉరిశిక్ష అమలు కాకుండా ఆపించగలిగాడు. కానీ ఈ మూర్ఖత్వంతో రాచరిక మదంతో కూడిన ప్రభుత్వాల్ని కన్విన్స్ చేయడం లోపల పటేల్ సక్సెస్ అయ్యాడు. ఆ విధంగా మన దేశం ఈ పరిస్థితిలో ఉన్నదంటే పటేల్ ముఖ్య కారణం. సరే, అఫ్ కోర్స్ ఎక్కువ ఆయన జీవించలేదు, దాని మీద బేస్ అయ్యి నెహ్రూ ముందుకు వెళ్ళిపోయారు. ఇక్కడ నెహ్రూ గొప్ప, పటేల్ గొప్ప అని కాదు, ఇద్దరికి కొన్ని అభిప్రాయ భేదాలన్నా కూడా ఇద్దరు కలిసి పనిచేశారు. అది మనం చూడాల్సింది. సరే, ఇప్పుడు రాజకీయ మీల్ చేసి తీసుకోవడం కోసం సర్దార్ పటేల్ను పైకి లేపడం ఇవన్నీ జరుగుతూనే ఉంటాయి. సరే, ఒకప్పుడు అశోకుడు, బుద్ధుడు చాలా ప్రామినెన్స్గా ఉండేది మన దేశం యొక్క వాతావరణానికి. ఇప్పుడు మరి వారు లేరు అంటే వారి యొక్క ప్రాధాన్యత పోయినట్టు కాదు కదా, వాళ్ళ యొక్క చారిత్రక పాత్ర వాళ్ళకు ఉన్నది. అదేవిధంగా గాంధీ, నెహ్రూ యొక్క ప్రాధాన్యత కూడా ఉంటుంది. కానీ కాలాన్ని బట్టి, దేశ కాలమాన పరిస్థితులను బట్టి ఒక్కొక్క ఆస్పెక్ట్ ముందుకు వస్తాయి. ఆ విధంగా మనం చూడాలి దీన్ని. నెహ్రూ యొక్క కంట్రిబ్యూషన్ మాత్రం మనం కాదనలేదు, చాలా గొప్పది. దాన్ని సార్ చాలా అన్ని కోణాల్లో చెప్పగలుగుతారు. సరే, ఇక్కడ తగినట్టు చెప్పారు. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. ఇంకెవరిని మాట్లాడతారండి? అంటే గ్యాప్ వచ్చే బదులుగా వెంటనే ఇంటర్ఫియర్ అయితే బెటర్ అండి.
రామ్ గారు ఏమైనా మాట్లాడతారేమో. వీఆర్ నాట్ హియరింగ్ ఫ్రమ్ రామ్ ఫర్ ఎ లాంగ్ టైమ్, ఐ థింక్.
Hello, sir.
Yeah,
please go on.
Vijay Kumar Reddy.
Please, sir.
I congratulate you, and you have made a very good analysis and a very big study you have made. And in a nutshell, you have told us. I should congratulate you, and I wish your book will be very successful, and more readers will be there. And I want to make a small to one or two comments, sir.
Please.
Actually, I retired from NIN. There was a big board, sir, in our institute, quoted by Jawaharlal Nehru, said, "I would not like to be first Prime Minister of India. I would like to be first servant of India." That was the quotation was there. And the second comment, he had a very big vision for good education in India. That's how he has brought IITs in his period only. It was his creation. IITs was his creation. That's what I know. And I lately joined. I miss it, sir. I will again listen to your video. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah, time is fast approaching, Andy. Just let there be some more discussion on this.
Sampath Reddy garu.
Yes. See, I especially thank Dr. Raghu Kumar garu for his research-based talk before producing a book. And as usual, there are a lot of things which he spoke about, otherwise not known to us. So that is the beauty, and that is how Dr. Raghu Kumar works. So we are just looking forward for his book. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bharadwaj.
I have a concern. Yes.
Please.
My voice, maybe it will, like, I'm sitting somewhere, so not, if it's audible, then I can continue. Otherwise, am I audible?
No, yeah, you are audible. Please.
My only concern and question is, in the beginning of the talk, you just said who killed Nehru? Nehru himself, Nehru killed Nehru, and Gandhi killed Gandhi. So hopefully I understand that specific, that like the inverted comma, the word and the sentence what you use, that must be covered under your book. And one more thing, like, since there was so much of like going between Gandhi and Nehru, so why didn't Nehru ever thought about the STG or the Gram Panchayat, Gram Swaraj, what Gandhi has dreamt about? He never thought about that. He never thought about the primary education. Unless and until we have the primary education, we cannot have more and more IITs and IIMs today's education is such a in such a worst situation that we are investing more money and pouring more money for international study rather than the total GDP of the education. So there are a lot many questions, and I hope there's not enough time. So if you can answer, otherwise I'll find rest of the things in your book. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Usha ji? Usha garu?
Hello.
Yeah.
నమస్తే అందరికీ నమస్కారం. మీరు చెప్పిన దాంట్లో అసలు నెహ్రూని గురించి మీ వ్యూ పాయింట్ అన్నిటికన్నా నేను ఆ లాస్ట్ సెంటెన్స్ చాలా ఆసక్తిగా విన్నాను. ఏంటంటే ఎవరా ఈ క్రిటిక్ నెహ్రూని ఇంత ఇదిగా విమర్శించారో అని అనుకుంటే హీఈస్ సెల్ఫ్ క్రిటిక్. చాణక్య పెన్ నేమ్ తో తను రాసేవాడని, అతను ఆ చాణక్య పేరుతో తన మీద తను రాసుకున్న కామెంట్ విమర్శ అనేది చాలా బాగుంది. ఈ ఆత్మ విమర్శ పద్ధతి నెహ్రూలో ఉన్నది. అలాగే అతను అంటే తన వెస్టర్న్ ఎడ్యుకేషన్ వల్ల తనకి ఏమి జరిగింది వీటన్నిటి మీద సంపూర్ణ అవగాహన కలిగిన వ్యక్తి కావడం, దాన్ని మీరు చెప్పినట్టు ఇప్పుడు అంతకు ముందు ఫస్ట్ స్పీకర్ గారు కూడా చెప్పారు అదనమాట. అంటే ఇవాళ వేరే ఎజెండాతో రకరకాల ఎజెండాలతో ఎప్పుడైతే మనుషులు ఇలా రకరకాలుగా మాట్లాడుతూ గాంధీని నెహ్రూని కూడా అన్పాపులర్ చేయాలి అని ప్రయత్నం చేస్తున్నటువంటి ఇటువంటి సమయంలో వాళ్ళ ప్రాముఖ్యతని వాళ్ళకున్న ఇంకొక కోణాన్ని చూపించే మీ ప్రయత్నం చాలా బాగుంది. థ్యాంక్ యూ. నేను లాస్ట్ కొంచెం చివరిలో జాయిన్ అయ్యాను. స్టిల్ జాయిన్ నేను ఎందుకంటే ఎంత చివరిలో అయినా జాయిన్ అవుతాను, ఏదో ఒక మొక్కైనా మనకు ఖచ్చితంగా ఒక ఆనందాన్ని జ్ఞానాన్ని ఇస్తుందని అది చాలా క్లియర్ గా ఇవాళ మళ్ళీ ఇంకోసారి రీఇటరేట్ అయింది.
థ్యాంక్ యూ. థ్యాంక్ యూ.
రఘు గారు, నాకు ఒక చిన్న క్లారిఫికేషన్ కావాలి. ఏదో ఇంటర్నల్ పోల్ జరిగింది అండ్ సర్దార్ వాస్ almost chosen and Gandhi ignored that internal poll where Sardar was favored and Nehru was given the choice at the end. And అందులో ఎంత నిజం ఉంది ఎంత అబద్ధం ఉంది, it may be true also, I don't know, but Gandhi's choice is Nehru, and who is second to none, and is the better choice also. But along with him and Sardar ji also worked very closely and contributed to the nation. That relation that we can know from them. కొంచెం అది ఒకసారి క్లారిఫై చేయండి.
Sure. రామ్, would you like to say something?
రామ్ గారు ఏదో ఒకటి చెప్పాలి, ఆయన మాట వినాలి మనం.
Ram put a question somewhere in the chat box. Krishnamurti garu, Lakshmi Narayana garu, then Vani garu. So I try to, if no one else is coming forward for further discussion, I try to. It's not that I'm going to answer all your questions, but this is I hope I will have one more what's called interaction with you after some time, maybe after 6 months or something like that. I try to put my own ideas on this issue. One is Balmohan Das garu with some agony. Okay, Ram Jairam garu, please, మీరు మాట్లాడండి. Ram Jairam.
సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ సార్.
ప్లీజ్.
వినపడుతుంది కదా సార్ మాట్లాడితే?
యా, ప్లీజ్.
సార్, నాది ఎక్కువ ఏం లేదు. ఒక చిన్న పాయింట్ ఐ వుడ్ లైక్ టు మెన్షన్ విత్ మై డీటెయిల్ నాలెడ్జ్. That is with regard to the Jinnah and Nehru. If you go through the book of M.C. Chagla with Roses in December or Pushwan Singh, Jinnah is in a very high pedestal when compared to Nehru. This is not my opinion, the opinion of the world leaders also, in character-wise also. There is no match to Jinnah. So I only request you to just go through this aspect also to cover in your book, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, it's a good feedback, and it's a good, very good feedback from you. Thank you.
So, summing up the discussion, I stop recording at the